Peace never really left your house, it just kept getting interrupted. You'd feel it for a few days, that soft, quiet calm. No raised voices, no slammed doors, just normal. And some part of you would relax into it, believing maybe this time it would stay. Then something small would happen. A tone, a comment, a silence that lasted 1 second too long. And just like that, the air would change again. You felt this so many times you stopped being surprised by it. You just started waiting for it. Somewhere along the way, you stopped asking, "Why is this happening?" and started asking, "When is this happening?" That's not paranoia. That's pattern recognition. Your body learned something your mind is still catching up to. Think about the house you grew up in. Maybe dinner was fine. Maybe there was laughter. And for a moment, it felt like a normal home. Then a question got asked wrong. A joke landed wrong, and the whole temperature of the room dropped. You learned to read a room before you learned to read a book. You learned which tone meant it was safe to talk, and which one meant to go quiet and disappear into yourself. That's not something you were taught. That's something you survived. Here's the part almost nobody explains to you. Peace in a house like that was never actually peace. It was a pause. Real peace is stable. It doesn't depend on everyone's mood staying perfect. It lets you exhale completely. What you grew up with was the absence of conflict, not the presence of safety. And those are two very different things. A pause always ends. That's what a pause does. So when things were calm, some part of you was already counting down. Pause for a second here. Think about how conflict actually got resolved in your house. Did anyone sit down and say, "I was wrong, here's what I'll do differently"? Or did it just stop, and a day later, everyone acted normal again, like nothing happened? That's not resolution. That's suppression. And suppression doesn't heal anything. It just buries it close to the surface, waiting for the next thing to dig it back up. So the peace after a fight wasn't earned, it was just resumed. Nobody sat you down and taught you this wasn't normal. You had nothing else to compare it to. This was just what a home felt like. This was just what love looked like, mixed with tension, mixed with waiting. If you grew up like this, you probably learned to live one of two ways. Maybe both, depending on the day. You became the one who noticed tension first, who changed the subject, softened the mood, kept the peace before anyone else noticed something was wrong. Or you became the one who went quiet, watched everything from a safe emotional distance, learned that saying less meant getting hurt less. Either way, you learned to live inside the pause, because at least it was familiar. And here's the quiet tragedy in that. You grew up so used to bracing for impact that calm started to feel suspicious. Take a moment and sit with this one. If someone is kind to you today, does a part of you wonder what they want? If things are going smoothly, does a part of you wait for the other shoe to drop? That's not you being difficult. That's the pause, still running in the background of your life, decades later. Maybe you over-apologize for things that were never your fault. Maybe you can't relax during a good week, because in your experience, something always eventually goes wrong. Maybe you read every short reply as anger, every quiet moment as the calm before another storm. Maybe you keep one foot out the door of every job, every friendship, every version of happiness, just so it doesn't hurt as much when it ends. You call it being realistic. It's actually an old habit wearing a new name. None of that is weakness. That's a nervous system doing exactly what it was trained to do. It's protecting you the only way it learned how. Ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you felt fully relaxed, with no part of you scanning for a shift in mood? If you had to think hard to remember, that tells you something about how long you've been living braced. But here's the twist. The thing you were protecting yourself from might not even be in the room anymore. You might be standing in a genuinely calm life, and still flinching at ghosts, still waiting for a version of chaos that isn't coming this time. That's the cruel irony of growing up where peace never lasted. Eventually, you stop trusting peace itself, even when it's real. So let's sit with something for a moment. What if the problem was never that peace kept ending in your house? What if the real problem was that peace was never actually built there in the first place? It was just borrowed time between one storm and the next. And if that's true, it means the anxiety you carry now isn't proof that you're broken. It's proof that you learned to survive an environment that never taught you what safety actually feels like. That's not your fault. But healing it is now your responsibility. Not because it's fair, because nobody else is going to do this part for you. The people who built that house may never understand what it cost you. Waiting for that understanding will keep you stuck in the same pause, year after year. You can't control whether your childhood home ever had real peace, but you can learn, slowly, what real peace actually feels like now. Not the fragile kind that depends on everyone's mood. The kind that isn't waiting to be interrupted. It starts small. Noticing when you're bracing for something that isn't happening, noticing when calm feels wrong, and asking yourself why, instead of running from it. It starts with letting a good moment stay good, without hunting for the reason it won't last. With letting silence just be silence, instead of a warning sign. With letting someone be kind to you, without searching for the catch. Because peace was never supposed to be something you survive between arguments. It was supposed to be the place you finally get to rest. And you deserve to know what that actually feels like.